My name is Annie Grossman, and I'm a dog trainer. I'm the owner and co-founder of School for the Dogs, a dog training center located in Manhattan's East Village.
School for the dogs, for the dogs. School for the dogs, for the dogs.
On this podcast, I talk about dog training, interview industry experts, discuss pet trends, answer questions, and try to communicate my love for all things related to behavioral science. Thanks a lot for listening. I think this podcast will help make you the best possible human best friend any dog could ask for. Hello, listeners. Thank you for being here. I am interviewing today Leeyah Wiseman, who is, we're trying to figure out exactly what to call her, but for the moment, I'm going to call her our student leader of our upcoming 21-day challenge. Leeyah, hey, thanks for being here.
Hey, Annie, thanks so much for having me today. I'm so excited to chat about our challenge that we're going to do.
I know, me too. So I wanted to have Leeyah on both to talk about the challenge, and we can go through some of the specifics, but also just wanted to kind of hear about Leeyah's journey into dog training. She has been a podcast listener, I know, since she got her puppy. Since you got your puppy. I don't know if I should be, am I speaking to you or like the greater people listening?
Right? It's kind of surreal to be talking to you live when I'm so used to like hearing your voice.
Aw, that's nice. You know, like my husband won't listen to the podcast except when he listens to it. Every now and then he'll listen to it on like double speed. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, there are people who don't even know me who who don't mind listening to me at regular speed. He's like, I listen to you enough. I already know all the stuff that you're going to say. So yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about how you got into dog training? I know you have 2 dogs now. Is that right?
No, I just have George.
Oh, what happened? Didn't you have 2 for a little while?
We did. We adopted a boxer puppy who turned out to be not a good fit for George and just not a good fit for another dog. She needed to have a single dog household, and then we found a new home that with the rescue that was a single household.
Good for you. I'm sure that was hard, but I think often that's like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I actually I remember I was like trying to make the decision, and I listened to that one podcast episode that you had, and I was like, okay, this is the right thing.
Oh yeah, right. I did an episode where I'm like, maybe you shouldn't really keep your dog.
It's some of the hard things to talk about, but it's important that like you do what's best for the dogs, and what's best for you if you're going to be taking care of the dogs.
Yeah, and I was talking recently, maybe it was the episode with Tara Newell about like codependency in general, but in relationship with pets. And I think like we need to be careful, like, anyone who has like a codependent tendency needs to be careful to live a life that's right for them, and not like contort their lives to a point of being uncomfortable in order to accommodate a pet that might actually be happier elsewhere. Anyway, so that was Olive, who is now happy in another home, I hope.
Yes.
But tell me about George and how George came into your life.
So, interestingly enough, we had Madison, our dog, for about 10 years, and we rescued her. And she was like my boyfriend's heart dog. So I had never had a puppy before or really had a dog other than kind of helping him take care of Madison. But she was really his dog. And so we went to a rescue maybe about 9 months ago now. And it was going to be like another dog for my boyfriend. And when we got him, George, we brought him home, and I don't know, there was just like, it was like an undeniable connection between me and George. And they have a great connection too. Like George loves his dad, but like I'm his person, and it just
so it's interesting. You weren't like I got to get a dog. Like dogs are my thing. You were like, we'll get a dog for you, hun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, I'd grown up like watching Caesar Milan and thinking dogs were great, but I never had owned a dog before. It was interesting getting George.
So you
And
watched Caesar Milan because you like dogs, but you didn't like hound your parents to get you a dog.
no, we grew up in like rental homes in like
Mm-hmm.
San Diego here, so like small houses, no yards really. So it kind of wouldn't have really been fair for dogs, which I'm kind of glad they didn't let me get one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I asked, probably, but I never had him growing up, and yeah, I was into that show, and so then I got George, and we took him to like the vet, and the vet was like, "Do you want some advice on puppy training?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she mentioned the Puppy Start Right book, I think, and then she's like, "Listen to the School for the Dogs podcast."
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, okay, cool.
that's so
So
cool.
I know. So I was like, went home and bought that book and didn't. It was not. I didn't really even get into the book, and then I like looked up your podcast and I just started listening to a bunch of episodes. And since like George was so young and like in such a perfect period to like implement these training like things that I was hearing on your podcast, even just like at first when I didn't even understand anything about dog training really. I was just like, we shouldn't be saying no to him. Like, let's say like yes for everything else. Like I was just like trying to like convince my boyfriend of this new like world that I was like being introduced to, of good dog training, like behavior science, and then I saw how fun it was and how well it worked with George, and I kind of just like fell in love, and then um
That's so cool. I mean, I feel like I fell more in love with my dog when I started training him, which I got him in 2005, and I didn't really learn anything really about training till he was like 5 or so,
yeah,
it really does do something to a relationship when you start to see like how their wheels turn and how you can help them feel good about things and how you can like my dog Amos, oh, I miss him so much.
hmm
He used to get this like stoned happy look sometimes during training, like oh my god, I'm so into this, I love it, I love it, I love it.
yeah,
And it's like to be able to help another animal like get to that mental state and be so excited to like, I don't know, it's special, it's
it is,
special.
it is.
And well, and I know that your background is in human relations, which is something I know you and I have emailed back and forth about before. But when you told me that, I was like, oh, well, you're just moving from you're just moving from like training one animal to training another. I mean, I'm guessing learning about this stuff has probably given you insights into the world of human relations that you didn't have before.
Oh my gosh, yes. I think that as soon as I made that connection, listening to your podcast, like I told you when we emailed, I was just like, whoa. Because I was just getting the understanding of like operant conditioning, classical conditioning, like positive reinforcement.
Hmm.
Positive punishment is used a lot. I mean, getting written up or,
Oh God, yeah.
all kinds of things, raises, bonuses, that kind of stuff, positive reinforcement. So,
I mean, in schools too.
schools, yes, yes.
I think I was like held back a lot in school by fear of doing poorly, like as much as like not taking a class or not trying something because I was worried like I wouldn't get an A, you
Yeah.
know. But human relations. Well, I did an episode about this, actually inspired by you, where I talked about how much I appreciate human resources and human relations before because it's just like a different it's like a different application of the same science that like involves its own technologies and skills and structures that I feel like are not particularly my strong suit, but I can like appreciate it from the outside.
Yeah, I think it's just like once you like make that connection and you can like choose where to apply it whenever you need to. Like I don't know, with when you see like how it works with dogs, and then you have the ability to like kind of use the same concept. Like I did when I was working before I got laid off. When I was working in human resources, I was like, how can we use positive reinforcement more than negative reinforcement here in this company? And that wasn't really the wasn't really their focus.
They also probably were like, what's negative reinforcement?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're like, are you trying to bring dog training into this?
Do you use it with your boyfriend?
Um, yeah. And it's like once you learn these things and then you see how they work with dogs, I don't know, you can't go back from that. You can't be like, this is not gonna work with humans. Like it works with everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Although I find like in my relationship, it can be hard to figure out how to use positive reinforcement because like, which I know sounds awful and ridiculous. When I'm specifically like trying to change a behavior, it's really hard to not like nag him
Hmm.
or like just like I think it's because like we spend so much of our lives together and we share so many of like the good things, we share food, we share money, we share love, we share like our daughter, like that. Like it's not like I have like if I'm turning off access to any of those things or turning on access to any of those things, like you know what I mean, it's harder to control those things that
Yeah,
are just like in our lives all the time. And I can't just like toss cookies at him when he's good.
yeah,
Although I mean he could totally toss cookies at me and that would really be okay,
yeah.
but
Maybe it's a little easier since we're not married yet.
yeah. I do try and like use like antecedent arrangements though sometimes with him and like arrange like the environment in ways or like just like be very clear with my cues. Actually, I just bought we have this argument about like the dish towel. He's always putting the dish towel on draping it over like a chair in our kitchen and it drives me crazy because we have like a million hooks for dish towels and I've like nagged him a million times about it and it's been like such a source of arguments that at this point I'm like, aren't you just conditioned to know? Like, don't you just like go to put the dish towel there and haven't you been classically conditioned to feel like it's the wrong thing to do? But he hasn't. Um, but it actually hasn't come yet, but I just like ordered a little sign to stick on the chair that says, don't do it.
Oh my God. Yes, exactly. That's actually the kind of thing that you have to do in like human resources is like, please don't do this. Like actually put signs in front of people's faces.
Right. Like be ridiculously obvious about it. Oh my God. I guess that's like I don't know if you have to do this in California, probably because it's California and we're in New York. They're not that different, but like the sexual harassment training
Yeah.
things that you have to do if you work at a company or if you run a company that like I do even like, oh
Yeah.
my God, it's so like these what I don't know what yours was. It's like a video slash PowerPoint about like
Right.
how to not sexually harass people. That's like
Yes.
so obvious that it's like, is anybody actually watching this and learning something? But I guess maybe it's just like a don't do it sign.
Yes. Exactly. I actually at my last job I had to because that law just came into like effect starting like 2021. I had to get everybody, all of the employees, all of the managers, all of the C staff and the CEO give them that harassment training webinar and make sure they did it. And it was, yeah, I got a lot of complaints about how stupid it was.
Yeah, it's but again, like now that we're talking about it, I'm realizing maybe it's not the content that matters. It's
Yes,
just the like the acknowledgement that matters.
exactly. Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so what's some of the fun training that you've done with George lately? And what's George like? I mean, I know him from his photos and his videos, but tell me more.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of stuff can I tell you? He's
Do you know so he came from a shelter. Was he born in the shelter or?
so I don't know. Okay, so the rescue is a animal center at Helen Woodward down here in San Diego. It's a really good one. And they rescue from like the more high kill shelters, I guess is what it is. And so I think what happened is all they could tell me is that he was just came from one of their rescue partners or from a shelter in Southern California, and they had gotten him like a few days before I had found him at the rescue that we got the day we got him. So he had just come in like 4 days before, had gotten neutered like 2 days before. And they told us he was Mastiff and Shepherd. And he was twice the size of all the other 8-week-old puppies there. So, yeah. So, and this sounds like kind of bad, but I'll just out myself. I was like, are you sure you don't want to see any other puppies? Like, to my boyfriend. And my boyfriend was like, nope, this is the one. And the lady was like, please please take him. Like, nobody else has seen him today. Because he's just like, I think, like I said, San Diego doesn't have like a lot of big yards. So we have a big yard. So we were like, yeah, we're going to take you. And we didn't look at anybody else, even though I had I had said to, which I'm so glad we didn't, because it just would have made it much harder.
And how old was he again?
He was 8 weeks.
Aww.
Yeah. And he was like he kind of is. He's still like a really, kind of like a scared boy. He's just really shy, and he doesn't really like new people very much, but then like really quickly he warms up to them, and like really quickly he'll feel confident with people and like feel confident in situations. But I don't know. There's definitely like a little bit of reactivity in him, that I'm still like training with like all the time. And he's just like amazing though, because he's really smart and he picks up on training so quickly, and he has so much fun doing it. And I mean, I was just like made a video on why I use positive reinforcement training, and it's just because it's so fun, like especially for the for the trainee, I guess, to participate and to learn. And like, I don't want to do anything that's not fun, especially like if I'm trying to like learn something new.
Well, and also it's like fun for you too, because it's like a feedback loop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which to me is such a reason to not use punishment and dominant space training, like if only because I think it's less fun to go around like yelling at your animal. Although I mean, I guess it could feel, well, I mean, I know a lot of it's not about yelling, as we know from Cesar Millan. Some of it's kicking or strangling or what do you, I mean, even just like being, stern or anyway, a lot of it to me is I mean, I guess what's appealing about it is like when you punish a dog and it works, and that's like immediately reinforcing the behavior of doing whatever you just did. But I just don't like how it feels to be someone who's like yelling and nagging and doing all the things that I do to try and change my husband's behavior.
Right. Exactly.
Fortunately, there's not a lot of behavior I want to change, I guess, because I'm clearly not very good at it. But yeah, it feels nice to have fun with your dog, and I just can't imagine it feeling that nice to, like, I don't know, going around like shocking your dog or whatever.
Yeah, I was trying to convince my sister, actually. Like last week I was talking to her because she has a 3-year-old Yorkie mix that she lives in Washington, so we don't live near each other's. But she kind of just was asking me training questions for the first time, and I was trying to explain, this type of training, because it's kind of foreign sometimes to people when even people who have dogs, they've like never even heard of, positive reinforcement training sometimes. So
for dog training, just probably, I know what I used to think, and so I imagine other people must think like dog training was just one thing to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you train a dog like you weed a yard. Like, there's not like who the hell needs techniques or science?
Right? Yeah, they're just sentient beings, not just grass growing on the yard. But I was like, yeah, like, don't you want to, have a good bond with your dog, or And she was like, yeah, I guess you're right. Like, I see, some people training at the park, and they just kind of look like a-holes. Like, if they're, yelling at their dog, I'm like, yeah, you don't want to be that person.
Yeah, well, I mean, good for her for even seeing that. I mean, I thought Cesar Millan really had it going on. I never thought he looked like an asshole, but now I do. Now I do.
Me too.
I can't even watch it with the sound off because I get too upset because the dogs just look too upset.
Yeah, I haven't even cried since my mind has been changed.
Yeah, I've thought about doing like annotated commenting version on maybe we should do that as like a group. Like,
oh my gosh,
watch Cesar Millan and then just like heckle.
Yeah.
Like,
or like dub it with like what you would imagine.
Yeah. Oh my God, we should totally do that. That would be a good time for the right person.
Yeah.
Like me.
Yes.
You've done like some kind of trick training with him, right? I've seen you on Instagram. Like he'll weave between your legs, right?
Yeah. So we do middle. He's really good at touch. We do that a lot. We just started doing some muzzle training
Oh, great.
with a Kong wobbler top, like just the top that
Oh, smart. Okay.
because we don't have a muzzle.
Well,
And
that's a great thing. That's a great thing to use.
yeah, I got the idea from the 21-day course, and
Oh, well, that's a good segue.
yeah, the muzzle training.
Yeah, which I actually forgot about. So the background of this challenge is it's actually its own course that we offer, as it's one of our on-demand courses, and we were trying to come up with like what would be a fun challenge, and we thought like, well, why don't we just give people this course and they can all do it together.
Hmm.
I wrote it about a year ago, the whole thing. But part of the reason I'm actually really excited about this challenge is because I'm hoping it'll produce videos, which will then be something we can add to the course. But
Yeah.
um, I wrote the course sort of thinking about like if I was writing to a friend who just got a dog and trying to give them like something new to do every day, like what would I
Mm,
tell them?
yeah.
And it's funny because I wrote this before I lost Amos, before we got Poppy, and I kind of hadn't thought about it in a while, but now looking through it again, I'm like, oh, I'm excited to do this now with Poppy, because like a lot of these things are things I probably wouldn't have thought to do with Amos, just because like we'd been together so long. Although you could totally
Yeah.
do these with a. It's so funny, so funny. Poppy is like playing with a wobbler top right now. She just like went and got it. She must be psychic. Anyway, I wouldn't have thought to do them with Amos, but just because, but you could totally do these with a dog that you've had for a while too.
Yeah.
So what was your first thought, like looking through these when we asked you to do this?
Oh, totally. So, my first thought was that exactly like anybody could do this with their dog. And they're interesting, they're fun. They're kind of like some of them are fun that are going to be really fun to like show off. Like tricks for your dog to do. Like I don't know, teaching your dog to draw is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, well, I think you said you were a little nervous about that one, right?
Yes, but then I actually read it and it kind of seems like I could probably do it.
So why don't you explain to people who have no idea what we're talking about what it means to teach your dog to draw, and maybe also why it sounds like something you might want to do.
So you use here, let me open it up actually. So you use like a touch screen. Um so it sounds really hard because I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Put a marker in George's mouth and like and so then I actually opened up the course and looked at the instructions. Yeah, so all you have to do is like smear peanut butter on your phone.
That's certainly one way to start, yeah.
Yeah. Um
Although you know what, you don't. So the idea is basically to, instead of teaching your dog, or in addition to teaching your dog like a hand touch, you can always teach an object touch, be that teaching them to touch your knee or touch the spoon or touch the eraser side of a
yeah.
pencil or whatever, but that instead of doing one of those objects, we're going to use a touch screen, be it a phone or an iPad, because one thing I like about doing that, especially with people who are new to training, is when the dog's nose, with the app that we like to use, which is called Doodle Buddy, you can select like a stamp feature, and the second your dog's nose touches the screen, it goes like bring.
Yeah.
And so I'm bringing it up on my phone, see if I can make one of the sounds. But it's like it like does the job of the clicker for you, because it's like pinpointing the moment that your dog is touching the screen. So it's actually takes a little bit of the work out of it, because you don't have to worry about your timing. So you could start by putting peanut butter on it if you really need to like create engagement. But for a dog who's done any kind of nose touch, even if it's just a hand touch, you don't even necessarily have to do that, because you could
Yeah.
just like, he'll probably be like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
I think that's fun. And yeah, you get a drawing made by your dog. What are some of the other ones that you're excited to show off? I'm excited for you to show off all of them, by the way, but tell
Um,
me.
I'm excited to show off touch because we're so good at it. And I'm excited to do more of the muzzle training because I think that one's like really important, and the the options you can really use like anything. I don't know, coffee containers, one of the options, or obviously the Kong wobblers. So that's kind of cool because I didn't think that I thought we would have to buy a muzzle to start muzzle training, but you can start training with, different things. Elevator game, that one's going to be good because it kind of is a good opportunity to show off, um, what is it, negative punishment?
Yeah.
Which is kind of controversial to even say the word punishment, even though there's negative in front of it.
Mhm.
And the other one that I'm excited to do is the first one, the show off the $100 bill, which is where you kind of give your dog maybe like 10 or maybe like 6 to 10 different options of different treats, and kind of get to know what their high value treat is and what order they're gonna go for the different items in, and then you can kind of track it and see what they like the best, which is always really good because I think a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that before I gave him different options, and sometimes I hear people say that like their dog isn't food motivated, and maybe just maybe they just need to try different things. So I think that'll
Different
be a fun
things,
one
yeah.
for everybody to try.
Yeah, it's bringing it back around to humans. I always think like it's so important to know what the people you love are into,
Yeah.
if you want to reward them well.
Yeah.
Neat. Well, I really love your reels. I think you have a talent.
Thank you.
You have a gift for that medium. Uh, and so I'm excited to see some of the reels that you're going to do. And you're going to be doing takeovers on the weekend, showing off some of the things, right?
Yeah, that'll be super fun. I'm
So
excited. I think
that's
that, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say I think we're doing that every weekend in April.
Yes, right? I think maybe you, me, and Gilby.
Are going to do them.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And well, and I'm hoping other people will share their efforts so that
Yeah.
we can learn from each other.
Yeah,
And
I think
it's
it'll be awesome.
a fun moment to show off. Yeah, I'm excited about doing it too. Like I said, I think it's going to be a nice way to run through training with Poppy. I've been doing the eighth day one, which is bounce your dog between two spots.
Oh,
I think that's such a great, like, basically you're teaching your dog to go to the crate or their bed or whatever spot, but then rewarding them far away.
yeah.
And I do it with the treat and train, which is the little like remote controlled treat dispenser that I'm obsessed with using.
Mhm.
And it's so much fun with Poppy to like get her to just to get her to get some energy out, just like simply running from one end of our apartment to the other.
Yeah.
And I actually just bought like a tracker for her. I didn't buy it for that purpose. I'm sending her with a group that like takes dogs hiking once a
Yeah.
week, and they want you to have a GPS tracker, like Fitbit type dog
Yeah.
thing. And I was thinking it'll be fun to see like how many, like how far I can clock for her just running
Yeah.
from one side of our home to the other. You have a big backyard, right? So have you done any kind of like parkour type stuff with George yet? Like exercising or junkyard agility, we sometimes call it.
No, but I really need to. He kind of uses the plants out there sometimes to run and jump off of, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about either getting some agility for the backyard, or
Mm-hmm.
even there is some agility classes out here that I could take him to that have the whole
Yeah,
thing.
you can also like make up your own obstacles. Actually, you should take our parkour class at some point. I think you'd have fun
Yeah,
with that. But
yeah.
it's all about like how to use obstacles in your house. Although I'm interested in agility. Like I mean it feels as a living in New York City, it feels like such a foreign thing, but I
Mm,
think it's a real entry point for a lot of people into dog training.
yeah.
And seems like a fun thing that you can do. It's funny, like when I remember thinking agility would be fun with my dog Amos when he was younger, but then
Mhm.
like in New York it just seemed like such a big deal, and I felt like I don't know how serious I really want to be with this. Like
Yeah,
I just want my dog to like learn how to run up and down a teeter totter, like that's enough.
yeah.
Yeah, if you get into that, tell me, I want to learn more.
I will. Yeah, I'm a little nervous because George is like so. He gets just really, really pumped. Um, like when I take him out in public, like one thing we just get told all the time, "Oh, he's excited." I'm like, I know. He's 30% boxer, so he's energetic, and
Aw.
especially around other dogs. He loves other dogs, so I don't know. It's like kind of balancing whether like bringing him and letting him just kind of like have all that energy, and then like spending the time like training him to be calm in those situations so that he's not always like bouncing off the walls everywhere. But
Yeah, so maybe wait until he's a little bit older, and I mean he's still a puppy
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Um,
huge puppy,
Big puppy. How much does he weigh?
75 pounds.
Oh my god. And he's probably
Yeah,
still growing.
yeah. He's 10% Great Dane, so he's
Wow.
small.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great Danes are pretty fabulous. Well, anything that we haven't covered that you want to cover or mention?
I don't know. I'm not super great at coming up with things to talk about.
I don't believe it. Well, where can people find you on Instagram, since Instagram is where you're going to be leading this?
Oh, right. Yeah. George and Leeyah at George and Leeyah. I changed it up recently because it's all about me and George, and G comes before L in the alphabet, so that was he had to go first. And he's kind of the star, really. I mean, he really is the star. Nobody watches it for me.
Well, I don't know. You got that purple hair.
I know. That's actually a filter. And
That's a filter?
yes.
Yeah, there's a purple hair filter?
Yes,
What?
and what's funny is I'm gonna post something today with shocking people of my transformation without the filter, because my hairstylist actually messaged me and was like, "Is your hair really purple?" I was like, "You know me in real life. You do my hair. My hair is not really purple."
Wow. Well, maybe it should be. It looks good. What's the
I know.
filter that you use? Hold on. I want to have
I
purple
know.
hair.
I mean, you can just like I'll send it to you on
Okay.
Instagram.
Yeah. That's so
Great.
funny.
Yeah.
The truth is revealed.
I know. I've been outed.
But it's always like it's the stereotype, like, is she really blonde?
Yes. Does she really have purple hair?
She really have purple hair? The answer is no.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm super excited that you're going to be doing this, and I'm sure I will see you between now and then on Instagram or on Clubhouse or wherever you and I hang.
Yes.
And thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
School for the dogs.
Thank you so much for listening, and special thanks to Bill and Lizzie of Toast Garden for the amazing theme song. You can find Toast Garden at youtube.com/toastgarden. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on iTunes. You can also support us by shopping at storeforthedogs.com, and you can learn more about us at schoolforthedogs.com. You can also connect with other listeners by downloading our brand new app. Just visit schoolforthedogs.com/community.